Wait, test 2 for today. Hello world. Today I'm going to attempt to tell my story. There's a lot to this story. Is it a true story? Is it a real story? Did it really happen? Or I've got a certain recollection of things that happened in my lifetime. I believe. At this moment in time, I believe I've got a conscious memory of the things that happened. I think that's how it works. So, as far as this memory can recollect, what do we have here? What do we have to find? Let's go. When I was 8 years old, I liked writing. When I was 8 years old, my dad brought me this homepage it had different links on it. It's called White Gums. And it had a bunch of just different links to different websites, and I liked it because it saved me, I guess, time. He was able to set up links for me, and they had like little GIFs at the time. So I liked that. And then when I was 16, I started writing this computer program or this website called mindslap.net, which is the ability to, instead of just an HTML homepage, where you have to go into the code to edit the links that you can see on the screen, and anyone can, from the website, add their own links. And that's what I created when I was 16. Then that transitioned into what I now call Equals OS or Item OS, and that was actually heavily inspired by the medication that I'd been put on at the time. When I started writing, well, I guess while I was developing mindslap.net, I was smoking weed, which was a good mind opener for between like 18 and 20 at the time. And then I went to see a psychiatrist, and they gave me a stimulant medication called dexamphetamine, and that made it so that I wasn't writing such crap, terrible code. I was actually able to hyperfocus even, on the parts that needed really careful attention to. So that allowed me to expand out a little bit. So mindset.net, what it did is you could create links, and then I was like, well, I want to create other things like to-dos as well. So I made an admin feature so that the admin could create tables, which then users could populate. So the admin had this button called object types, and I could create a to-dos table from the admin function. And it basically meant that whenever I would do that, every user had access to now to-dos, and they could create their own to-dos. Then, when I guess I started this new medication, and I really had the ability to like sort of start again, right? Because I had the focus and the energy to do so, and I guess the motivation, because it was backing, this medication was backing me in this way that I hadn't felt before. So I was able to write this code. To begin writing, I really wanted a way so that basically normal users, everyone, had the ability to create their own, not just to-dos, but whatever they wanted. So I started with this basic form, and it had add custom fields, or add item type, or whatever the button was. It was just this really simple white HTML, I guess JavaScript form, and it was a proof of concept. And then from there I just built, and I kept on building because it just kept on working. So now I've got this site called Equals OS, Item OS, and what it does is, as opposed to admins being able to create different tables and modify them, now any user can join the site. They can create their own item types, which is essentially their own tables, and I built on that, and that's now transitioned into something which an item can inherit another item, So a contact can have many events. For instance, contacts aren't baked into the program. Users would make their own item type called contacts and their own item type called events, and they would say that a contact inherits many events. That's the basic foundation of how this thing that I've been building works. So I'm 28 now, and that was about how long? So when I was 16 was my Subtitling. That went on until I was about, I don't know, I've been working this for about 7 years. So maybe when I was 21, roughly, would be when I had started what I called Item OS at the time. Gone through a lot of work. I've tested it, used it myself over and over again, grinding it, making it. I've found this really crucial need that software needs to be frustration free and distraction free, and like I hate ads. I use ad blockers because it just frustrates the crap out of me when you're trying to get something done and there's something else that's in the way, but it's not there to help you. It's there to like use you, right? I hate that, and I want to just rip all of that out, rip it all out and burn it to the ground. That's my attitude. So I hate when your intention is being met with like a counteracting force that's there for the purpose of their own greed, right? I don't like that. Cool. That's part of my story. What else? What else do we have in this story? Software, people. Not quite ready for people just yet. What else? Okay, so I've got a vision, right? My vision is that people shouldn't be dealing with poorly designed, distraction-based, frustration-prone software. They create frustrations in the things that we use on a daily basis to give people this constant feeling of unease or dis-ease. I don't like that. I like, you paid for a device. You should be able to use it in the way that makes sense to you, not like the TV just there that has ads baked into it. Like you pay for the TV and then you can't even get rid of the ads that are then baked into the TV and like the navigation menus. Blows my mind. Like big monitors, that's what it makes sense for things to have a big monitor, not a big ads baked in device. I really don't like when you can't get the software to exactly the way that you want it to be. Cool. So that's software, that's passion. What else? I don't know, that's a pretty good start for now. Oh, church, sure. I was raised in a church called the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I was raised believing that there's a God and that you should do what this God says because the person that's standing up at the podium, speaking to a microphone, tells you that what they're saying is from God and you should do what God says. So my upbringing was, I was a bit conflicted. When I was 12 years old, in that church, you're meant to go on a mission when you become an adult. You're meant to serve for 2 years in another country or whichever country they tell you to serve in. You save up $12,000 and then you spend 2 years in that country and you go around knocking on doors and handing out the Book of Mormon to different people. And actually, it's not all bad. You play basketball with people and you, I guess, get people talking a bit. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad. I just see it now for the agenda that's baked into it. So yes, religion, or at least the church that I was raised in, has good traits. But if you're looking at it for the bigger picture, I've decided to avoid it because it's not in alignment with me at the moment. So, but there's definitely good traits like service, doing service to others, being honest, true. Like these things just resonate with me to the core. Being completely honest in the things that you say. I can be a bit too honest sometimes, but lying, just like when you've opened your mind a little bit, you get to see that it's not worth creating like falsities within yourself, because then you've got stuff to remember that you made up. It's just so easy to recall things from memory as opposed to recalling them from like something that I just don't like. When you're able to open your mind and expand outside of that, you just don't see, or like for me, I don't see the efficiency. I don't see the efficiency in making things up and having to remember it. Because then you've got to remember two things. You've got to remember how it actually happened, and you've got to remember the lie. Or I guess some people were just like, well, why would I have to remember how it actually happened if I could just remember the lie, right? So, yeah, shush. 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 Yeah, tell them shush. Okay, what else? Deception, greed. Yeah, I don't like beings that try to deceive others. I've got a very strong passion of hatred against deception. Greed. I've got to learn to take care of my own vessel. Obviously, I'm not doing a fantastic job of that, and I can do a much better job at that. I tend to go OD, which is called overdose, OD in one direction, which basically means I can hyper focus on one thing, and if that thing is me writing code, then it probably means that my vessel gets a bit neglected in the process. Before I started this video, I was really wanted to, like, the thought came to my mind about perfection, right? Perfectionism and, people being uncomfortable in their own skin. That makes me really sad. And I guess it's one of my own fears, right? Because I like things to be presentable. So it's kind of scary if you are hyper focusing on like the effort that other people put into something, or the mask that they put on, and you think, I need to be like that. Like, no, you need to be your own authentic original self. Shush. Original. That comes from my Jupiter in Aquarius placement, I would say. I assume, because that's described pretty well within my Jupiter placement. Astrology. I love astrology. My cousin, who's now not on good speaking terms with me, brought astrology to my attention when I was younger. He asked me for my date of birth. Well, I mean, he already knew my date of birth, but my time of birth, which I thought was going to be... Shush! Shush! Oh, man. Tell him to shush. 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 You shush. Yeah, shush. I thought my time of birth was going to be used to, whatever. I had all these fearful thoughts about what happens if people get a hold of my time of birth. But then I realized it's not used anywhere. Like, the amount of times that I've gone to do someone's astrology chart and they haven't had their time of birth available shows that it's literally not used anywhere. Like, no one asks you for that. So I had all this fear behind giving my time of birth. Your time of birth allows you to figure out your rising sign. Anyway, I was fearful about putting my details into this website, and then he spat out this chart, and he showed me, he went on YouTube and we started looking up some of the videos, the meanings behind what it meant to have a planet in a certain placement. I'm not sure how it progressed from there exactly, but it just, I've over time spent more and more of my own time learning about my own astrology and then the astrology of others, because I find it fascinating, because I like to understand the way that things work. And people seem to have this tendency to gravitate towards the traits that are cast by their astrology. I think there's a bit of a problem here where this is not something that's raised in mainstream education. Maybe I'm the first person to ever say that. Maybe this is the first time anyone will ever hear that. Why don't they teach astrology in the education system? That's what I want to know. It's a really good freaking question. Go buy an astrology book, or go find an astrology website which gives you a printout of your birth chart. Or reach out and I can guide you on how to do it. I use a website called AstroSeek, ASTRO-SEEK.com. I use astroseek.com to figure out my own birth chart and the birth chart of others when someone tells me their birthday, and I can look up their astrology. What else? Software, astrology, church. So I knew at 12 years old I didn't want to serve a mission. I told that to my mum at the time, and she said, yes, you are. But I really, yeah. I mean, I realized now I was actually getting a lot of, like, the reason why, we called it a Sunday headache. For some reason, we would always get, like, when we would go to church, we would get this headache after church, and we call it a Sunday headache. And only recently did I figure out why that was probably happening, probably due to the brain not wanting, like, or able to accept things that are coming naturally to it. If you're in tune with this, I guess your brain is not wanting to accept information that doesn't fit with the rest of, like, if it's not in alignment with everything else, your brain can be sending you signals to say this isn't right. Not everyone's in tune to it yet, but listening to your own body is a really good idea. Finding your own, I call it a moral compass, right? Your moral compass is the thing inside of you that's pointing you in a direction. And if you're not quite sure how to identify that thing that's pointing you in a direction, you can try different things to figure out, okay, if I follow, I guess, this thought in my head, what does it lead me to? And if I'm able to create a past recollection of, like, using this approach to guide myself, how did it go? Or if I use this approach, how did it go? Eventually, I've come to learn to trust in my own thing called a moral compass, which to me guides me on, like, if I've done the work and I've done the thinking and I go, well, how does it make sense for me to live my life in a way that's in harmony with other people? And then, actually, let me tell you about an acid trip that I had. When I first started taking acid, I thought that this world was mine and that it was all just a big simulation for me. Until I figured out that if you piss off another vessel, they will get you back for it, right? So even if this world is yours, if you piss off another vessel, they will get you back, right? So living your life in harmony can be attributed to not bringing harm to others, especially unjustified harm to others. What else do we have? Don't harm others. Not a good idea. What else do we have? We have a generation of people that are all being raised at this moment in time, and generations before that were raised, and we got here somehow. And a lot of people got here by watching TV. TV. I now have a strong passion of hatred against TV. Why? Because I've found that it just locks people on this one stream. It doesn't give them the opportunity. All right, think about what I'm doing right now. I'm projecting, or I'm just telling my one side of the story. If you have a conversation with someone else, you get, I guess, a bit of a back and forth, and you have two people bouncing ideas off of each other and having a conversation, right? But TV doesn't give you that option. Social media can, if it's not corrupt and it's not blocking the crap that you wouldn't expect it to block. You can leave comments on social media that you did go away, bug. You can leave comments on social media posts, should be able to, that you disagree with, and say, hang on, this isn't right. But TV just does not give you that option. What else do we have? I like to take a timeless approach to things. So I don't want to be saying stuff that's too in the moment, because alright, if I focus too far into the current moment, I would say perfectionism and people not being comfortable in their own skin and happy to share themselves with the world and tell their story and tell the truth. People that are afraid of that, I'm sad for you. I don't want you to be afraid of being in your own vessel, being in your own vessel that you control. I don't want you to be out of alignment with, I guess, the place and time that you are on, I would assume, Earth at this moment in time. Okay, there's this thing called an ego, right? And here's how I've come to utilize it. So first I thought having an ego just means being better than others. Having an ego means I don't know. I would just classify it as better than others. That's how I initially received the definition of an ego. Then there's this thing called an ego death, where you could take a bunch of acid and you could start freaking tripping over stuff because it makes it really difficult for you to control your vessel. And then you could be, I guess, people who aren't conscious of the way that they're speaking could say the same things that they would normally say prior to an acid trip, which normally they would just say, and they're not consciously thinking about it. But then on an acid trip, they might say the same thing and and realize coping mechanisms that they've discovered coping mechanisms within themselves, or at least I did. I remember I would a lot of my acid trips had to do with I would be making these, I don't know, not noises, maybe noises, I don't know, when you would, for instance, when you breathe out, but you're not conscious of that, and it's that sound is affecting the other people in the room. Or if you're I don't know, what's another example? I don't want people to stop breathing. Don't stop breathing, people. Don't do that. But what you might be able to discover without an acid trip is being conscious and aware of things that you're doing, or more conscious, more aware of the things that you do. Not to the point where you freak out and just get this anxiety overload and you don't want to do anything or go anywhere ever or do anything with anyone, but more so, like, to be spiritually awoken means, I guess, to be conscious of, go away, but conscious of the different spirits around you. If there's a person over there that's getting frustrated, and another person over there that's not, and another person over here, to be not spiritually woken might indicate that you're not picking up on the energy in a room, which I certainly wasn't. I certainly was not able to pick up on the energy in a room. I'm certainly no perfectionist to that degree now. Sorry, try that again. I'm certainly not perfect at picking up the energy in a room, even now. But I feel as though before a certain point in my life, I just had no awareness of that at all. I'm still not even, what is bug dead? I'm still not even close to a friend that I've got who, like, they're able to, I'm always going to tie astrology into this because I just see it as so true. They've got an Aquarius moon and they seem able to be picking up on or intuitively guided to making an effort to care for the other people that are in a room. Whereas I'm not trying to call myself selfish here, but it's just not naturally one of the, like, a gift that I have. Not nearly as much as I've seen other people have certain gifts, right? I'm no expert in that area. But other people are a lot better at doing certain things than other people. These are what I would call personality traits, right? I'm a computer programmer, great at writing code. Not great at socializing and interacting with other people. That part, not so good at. But definitely others I've seen be very good at that. Oh wait, what else? Share a random fact about yourself. When I was a kid, I went to this place called Jamboree, which is it's a town, but it's a water park. And my cousins were swimmers and they didn't wear t-shirts when they would go out in this water park. And anyway, we all put on sunscreen and I had my t-shirt on when I was putting on sunscreen and everyone else took their t-shirt off. And so I was like, I want to be like the other people. So I took my t-shirt off, but I didn't put on sunscreen. And I remember on the way there in the car, we were listening to, there was this song on the radio by Maroon 5 called Misery. And it streamed into my subconscious on the way there, or maybe I was actively listening to it on the way there. And I remember that night, that song was just playing over in my head because there were these like blisters, like lifting skin off my shoulders. I've still got freckles from that experience. Hey guys, let's all be cool like somebody else and do what everyone else is doing. So that's a random story. What else? How can I bring value to this situation? I like to be of service to others. Is that my Virgo rising? Is that my Capricorn moon? My Capricorn moon says to me, I want to look back and say I wouldn't have done things any differently, knowing what I knew then. And if I could only get that thought into everybody, that if you're always up to date in what you consider to be the best version of yourself and you're acting within that, then you always can look back at your past and say, I wouldn't have done it any differently, knowing what I knew then, right? You can't go into the past and change things, but I guess you are traveling into the future naturally. So always becoming the best version of yourself means that you can look back and say, I wouldn't have done it any differently at the time, knowing what I knew. All right, let's get into a much larger topic. There's this thing what I would call corruption and wanting to keep humans in a low vibrational state. Low vibrational, it's so called. What does that mean? Well, I would prefer if people were in an awakened, aware state. That doesn't mean don't sleep. Yes, sleep. Sleep is a good thing. But if you're actively communicating, make an effort to be not on autopilot. Make an effort to be in the current conversation. Sorry, I'm just on autopilot getting an almond out of my teeth. Make an effort to be active in the current conversation. So what is this much larger, much bigger problem that I'm trying to swim to and bring people's awareness to? Spirit doesn't want me talking about that right now for some reason. So I'm going to listen to my spirit. Should I end this video here? I guess I could. What is my spirit saying? Spirit says no to end the video. Alright. What else we got? Right. In this lifetime, this vessel, the vessel that you're in, it's not yours. You're borrowing it. You borrow the vessel to live out life lessons that you could only live out by being here on this earth. Because beyond the vessel, there is a spirit, right? So when you're listening to your spirit, if you can figure out what your inner internal voice sounds like, some people will call it God, but I've got this very big association with God being like this omnipotent being, and if somebody tells you that a message is from God, you just have to do it right now. Like, no, dude. I would say that God comes from within, and that if you're getting guided, maybe it's not so easy at first to figure out if there's an external influence guiding you towards something, or if it's you using your own self-discernment, like an idea coming to your head, and then you figuring out with everything that makes sense to you in a current moment, is this what makes sense to me? And how am I going to proceed knowing everything that I can take in at this moment in time? Now, that's an ideal way to think, but if your parents flood your brain with this chemical called captagon, then the further you reach out of your mind, while this captagon is in your system, the further it just pushes, like floods the pathways in your brain with this pain if you try to access those pathways later, or memory recollection. And anything that you're thinking about at the time will just have pain attached to it. So something that I should bring awareness to is that if for any reason you start receiving a whole bunch of pain when you try to think outside of yourself, or when you try to like use the parts of your mind that are available to you and you're receiving pain, I'm not saying you're currently under the state of Capricorn, but if I could teach people that this shouldn't even have to be a thing that needs teaching. But if for some reason you're receiving unwanted effects as you try to think and be the best version of yourself, I shouldn't need to describe. This shouldn't be in the list of things I need to freaking talk about. Eventually, if you can figure out how to... no, I don't know how to solve for this. I don't know how to solve for this one. I'm sorry. That's still the one thing that's fucked me up. All right. That medication that I was talking about earlier, dexamphetamine, there's an identical look-alike called Captagon. It's the exact same looking tablet, the exact same shape. TV, I did not ask you to turn on. Why? It's the exact same looking shape as a dexamphetamine tablet. I wouldn't really know the weight because I never really weighed it. But one has one effect and one has a completely different effect. One would give you the ability to sit and focus and I guess even hyperfocus and really easily channel your dopamine into the things that you want to work on, right? And the other one literally has effects of craziness and insanity. Like, due to the way that chemistry works, when a chemical is inside your body reacting with your inner internal pathways, the way that chemistry works is if you feed one thing in, you'll get one effect, and you feed something else in, you'll get a different effect. I guess the TV turned on as confirmation and did not want me talking about that. So there's this thing called Captagon, and there's this thing called dexamphetamine. Dexamphetamine is an ADHD medication, or for people who struggle to focus on things that they need to focus on. This medication exists which allows those people that struggle to focus on the things that they need to focus on. Like, some people are able to just force themselves to focus if they know they need to get something done. But from what I've learned of ADHD, the idea is that some things can be really easy for some people to do, and it can be like feeling like you're swimming upstream for others, right? Certainly for me, when I was in school, I did not do well in classes, definitely past year 10, I guess, except for woodwork. Classes that I found really fascinating classes that I found really fascinating, I could focus on really well. Other classes, woodwork, I love woodwork because it was a hands-on learning experience for me. I need water. Woodwork. Whereas English class, I really did not like English class. I had no problem learning about Shakespeare because of the scriptures that we would read when I was growing up. Alright, I'm not going to end the video. I'm going to grab some water and come back. Cool, so I was good at woodwork. I was also good at freaking English class. I've got this passion of hatred against, like, filling in forms that don't need to be there. I've got this passion of hatred against that. And in fact, like, I like checking all the boxes. I like, when I had there's two sides to it. There's one side of me that really freaking hates redundant. Oh, sorry. When you're forced to fill out a form, I hate when I can see things there that's like, why is that there? But then there's like other times where I would have certain forms and I'd want to fill in all the boxes. Like, I don't know, I think I had like a MySpace page when I was younger, and I was like, it had these fields available to me, and I was trying to like populate all the fields. Right, so I got this passion of hatred against forms with fields that don't need to be there. And that also ties in with the software that I'm writing, which I guess it's already really good. It's already really effective. But the key to this is that if something isn't working the way that you'd expect it to, you need the controls and the abilities to change that thing. I hate poorly designed, malfunctioning, deceptive, intrusive software that locks people out of the controls that they need to get things done, which is why I build my own software, because like if it breaks down, I know how to fix it, as opposed to you go away bug, as opposed to you have like larger companies that build software, and then when it breaks, you've got to send in this change requests, and you've got to wait for that thing to be then updated before it's, and then like in the current moment, you're just in this frustration because there's nothing you can do because it's misbehaving, right? So I'm not an engineer to a car, but I'm an engineer to an engine, which is the software engine. If I built the car myself, I would know how to fix it. Because, well, unless I'd forgotten everything that I'd learned along the way of building the car, but that's not really how I work. Cool. What else we got? Spirits. Bring the attention to what is needed. What's needed? In my case, self-care for my vessel. I'm not good at that. I need to get better at that. No, you should not see a person like me online posting content about the things that I create and comparing yourself to that. You should not be doing that. Like, by all means, get motivated, get inspired to work on yourself in a positive way, but certainly don't cripple yourself with anxiety when you see things that you can get inspired from. Like, just don't see it in any other way than that. Just like, sure, open your mind to see things in as many ways as you want, but what I've found is you can go down a rabbit hole, or at least I can go way like into the dark corners of my mind and just bring back nothing fruitful. So be aware of this. Be aware of not every thought is going to lead you to something fruitful. What else we got? Spirit. Oh yeah. Here's a really crap tap that I decided to take off my front yard because it was just leaking and dripping, and I hate these taps. I hate them so much. And how did I learn about the other kind of tap I had out there? Should I give the name of the workplace? I worked at a plant nursery when I was younger, and so I would take care of watering plants and moving plants to different greenhouses, and sprinkler systems that I would build from the experience of my older brother. Actually, he got me that job, and I was building sprinkler systems, and I liked it. I really liked that. That's how I learned about these different kind of taps that you could get. What else? Let's talk about acid. Why do I like acid? Well, acid shows me the things that have like integrity and the things that are like, I don't know, a cardboard box, for instance. You could crush that. But a set of train tracks, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So like, the more dense, the more well-built something is, the more reliable. I guess acid helps you to to see what's sturdy and what can just fall over. So brick walls, I like them. Train tracks, I like them. Rocks are cool. Stand on rocks with bare feet without hurting yourself. Nature's cool. Walk in grass, wet grass with your bare feet in the sunshine. Good stuff. Sun gazing. When the sun first comes up in the very morning, rising. When the sun first comes up in the rising, what you are able to do as a people is you're able to look into that sun while it's orange, right? So the first 15 minutes, this is known as sun gazing. The first 15 minutes, sometimes there's clouds blocking it, or you might actually live in a location where you have no visible access to the sun as it starts to rise. If it's not like an orangey red color, like you can see it on the edge of the horizon when the sun first comes up and when the sun sets, within the last 15 minutes of the sun setting and the first 15 minutes. I wouldn't say it's exactly 15 minutes, but generally that's a safe time for you to set your eyes on, like, physically be looking at the sun. Now, how do you know that's not going to burn your go away, bug? How do you know that's not going to burn your retinas? Well, first of all, I wouldn't suggest going out at midday in summer and looking straight up into the sky at the sun. That's not a good idea. Naturally, my hand sort of blocks the sun when it's when you can feel the heat on your skin. Probably a more dangerous time to be directing your retinas at the sun. Go learn about sun gazing. Go do your research. What else? Sun gazing, nature, the good things. Oh, I remember being on acid this one time, and I sat in my front yard, not here, at my parents' place, and I took this video of a bee. I was just connecting with nature, just observing this bee. I was like, hello, bee. I was flying around and I was pollinating the little bits of clover patches on the front yard. In front of the front yard. Yeah, some cool stuff. What else? What else are we going to talk about today? I don't know. Maybe I need a live stream. Maybe people can. Yeah, maybe if I had a side device that I could read people's comments on, talk about this thing, I could give that a go in the future. Alright, Spirit's saying wrap it up. So thank you people for being here, thank you for listening, thank you for spending your time on observing me walk away to get water. This is a part of my story and I've got much more to come. Everybody have an awesome day. Bye bye.